this is one of my favorite topics, feedback and evaluation culture in Finland, because this is something that really changed like me as well, in a way that you may know that I started studying my bachelor's in Finland already when I finished high school. So I have a lot of personal experience in participating in education system of Finland, but also as an educator and as a development professional, I look at evaluation as a very crucial part of everything we do. So let's get started, shall we? Hold on. Okay, yeah, just a little bit more about me, but I think we have met all of you already. Maybe some of you are new here, so I'll tell these again. So my name is Orsolya Tuba. Please call me Orsi. I'm from Veszprém, as the sign says. This photo was taken in Rovaniemi, sister city of Veszprém, and that's why I ended up there, long story for short. And basically from there, I ventured into some exciting practical training in London, but then my heart really brought me back to Finland, where I'm now currently studying education, development and international cooperation at the University of Jyväskylä. And at the same time, I'm doing projects and other consultation work within my own nonprofit company called minta. And yes, that's why I'm here today, because one of these projects I'm doing with Edit is this one, what you are participating at. And so today I'm gonna be introducing a lot of thoughts, topics, mostly my personal views and based on what I learned from teacher friends I know from Finland, but also I will be very curious about your thinking. So yes, I'm actually going to introduce you a tool that we will be using throughout this presentation or event, where you can leave your comments and thoughts. But yeah, I'll actually let you know what is this exactly. But first I'll talk about feedback culture in Finland in general. So what I see when I walk on the streets, what I can feel when I use a service in Finland, what's the culture behind this whole feedback. And then we'll talk about evaluation in Finland in the education context. And then we'll talk about our ideas for feedback and assessment, and we discuss. So this is what we're going to do. You either have to use this QR code below on the corner, or type into your phone or laptop Menteecom, and you need to type in this code 82869102. And then I think in the end we will speak up. I have the same slide in the end of the presentation, but I just wanted you to already have a look at the question. There are two questions there. It's like an open-ended sort of platform where you can type in your reply and everyone is going to see your response, but we are not going to see your names. So it's like an anonym sort of collecting your opinions about feedback and assessment. So the first question is going to be, why do we need feedback and assessment? What's your idea behind it? You can leave multiple answers, by the way. So if you type something in during the presentation, you can still share your reply later on. But this is going to be the basis of our discussion in the end of this presentation. And the second question you'll see after that. But yeah, I don't know if this was a good idea or not, that I'm going to distract you with answering to these questions, but I thought let's give it a try, because what I'm going to say today is not very theory based, it's very light, so you might be able to, you know, have a look and maybe make notes there or send your opinions there throughout. So let's do that. And yeah, I'm going to put this code into the chat actually, so you can have it there. Just a moment. Oh, sorry. And then the code is 82869102. Yeah. So if you want during the presentation, you can do that. But let me go on. So feedback culture in Finland. What came to my mind immediately is that I'm going to Google feedback Finland and what comes up, you know, because I know by heart that and by experience that there is all the time, no matter where you are, no matter if you are in the school canteen, where you have these stands and there are emojis like how did you like the food and the service, and you just press the button based on what was your feeling, you know, either happy or sad, you know. So they have all kinds of like solutions for collecting feedback. And for example, the City of Helsinki's website, it looks like this. If you want to leave a feedback, they have all kinds of, you know, different departments just collecting the feedback, and really you know, sort of this is part of democracy, how you can leave your feedback, and it actually matters. And for example, what I was like also happy to find is the Finnish National Agency for Education's website, where you can leave comments regarding, you know, regarding all kinds of education related issues, starting from early childhood education and care, and even for international visitors. So you can leave many types of comments based on where you study, where you're from, what's your experience. So I think these are like already saying a lot about what's been done, and this is, I think, if we just, you know, step 2 steps backwards and look at the big picture, these are all crucial of crucial importance, because this is why the Finnish education system manages to maintain itself and sort of constantly look for developments and constantly look for improvements, because they're constantly collecting feedback. So yeah. Sorry, yeah, this is the next one. Yes, and in general, like I was thinking to just jump in right in, and what do we mean that, you know, what's evaluation in Finnish education context? So I think these are the 3 very important factors when we talk about assessment and evaluation, and these are trust, individualized learning, and communication. So it all starts with that the teachers are trusted that they do what they supposed to do, you know, supporting students in their learning. And there is no such thing as, you know, like monitoring teachers' work and like random visits on teachers or something like that. There's like, once they stepped out of university and once they step into the classroom, they are trusted what they do. And there is this sort of thing called individual or personal study plan, which really is a tool for teachers and parents to look at the learners or the children's, you know, development. And it starts from, you know, from since they are born and since they enter the education system in the kindergarten, and they enter or daycare, and they already start to have this sort of like study plan. You don't think about like a very official paper document. It is about the communication. It is about how you are learning about your own children's like sort of either learning difficulties or talents or anything that relates to their learning. And it is, of course, it like sort of brings all along learners' education journey. And then there's this communication factor, which is very important, the teacher, parent, student triangle, you know, the consultation. I was just yesterday visiting this school in Jyväskylä. It's a primary school. And I was asking actually, because it was such a right timing, I was asking teachers there, like, what do you do, you know, for the assessment or evaluation, or how do you implement this personal study plan? Because that's I think that's a question you may ask me later on, so I'm gonna go ahead, because they told me that one of the most important parts of sort of this personal study plan is that they have every half a year a private consultation with the teacher has a private consultation with the student and its parents. And they have this meeting and they discuss, you know, on the positive sort of note, like what the student developed, what are the skills they improved. So sort of like having this very positive conversation. They emphasize that like a lot. So I'm going to emphasize it for you as well. And they also, of course, it's a good timing for students who are not behaving well or not doing something correctly. Then it's also, of course, a time for that they discuss and tackle the potential problems. So yes, I think these are one of the most important ones. And then if we want to continue talking about the Finnish example or Minta, I have to say some cultural, you know, background for you, that the Finns, generally speaking, they're very straight to the point kind of communicators, and they're very honest people. So they don't like to go around the bush. of course, in different contexts, it doesn't mean that they are, when they're having a business call, they're not gonna, just go a bit of circles, but in general, they are like very honest people, and they are known to be straightforward. And in Finland, you can immediately feel, if you step into a school, any kind of school, that there is a low hierarchy, and there's such a friendly and direct sort of relationship between teachers and students, that it is really what creates an inclusive, but also creates a learning, like an inclusive learning environment, because the teachers are like super approachable, and it is also in the university context as well. So you become friends with your professors, but when they're even, like we talk about primary school, it's even more visible that the kids are running and hugging the teachers, and that's completely normal. I mean, of course, we have teachers like this in Hungary as well, but it is something very very much in common here in every kind of context. And then, of course, I mentioned trust already, but this is everywhere, the trust. So the parents are trusting the teachers that they're going to teach their kids about, life. And there's also a trust between student and the teacher. So you can feel this kind of trust in the system. And I feel like when I first stepped into like a Finnish school, I felt like it's so chill. There's no stress, because people are just walking along in their, woolen socks, and sort of having their own times, doing what they are supposed to do. And no one's really like overly controlling what's supposed to happen. And they really think about learning as a long distance running. And I mean, I know that these are sort of selling keywords of the Finnish education system, but they really sort of know that every class and every student is different. And it doesn't mean that those students with learning difficulties are, sort of forced to take all the same classes with everyone. There is, of course, special cases when the students need to be like selected, and then having extra sort of classes or different teachers teaching them slower, for example, students with dyscalculia or dysgraphia. So that's like, different case, but in general, they are trying to like keep it inclusive and keep all the students together in the same classroom. And yes, and I think it's really like a mentality that the Finnish teachers have, that like we learn together, and teachers are also learners, and the learners are also teachers, because it's like a common like sharing experience. Yes, I see a comment in the chat. I'm going to respond to that in the end of the presentation, if that's okay, so we can discuss, because this is not too long. So let's move on to another like topics from evaluation assessment in Finnish schools. So what do we know? Yes, I wanted to first issue this, that there are tests in Finland, because these are sort of stereotypes of Finnish education, that it's sort of maybe a misbelief that there are no homeworks, there are no exams. That's not true. There are tests, there are exams, there are homeworks. And the Finnish education isn't perfect, but there is a lot to learn from them. I think we can agree on that. And yeah, so of course there are exams, because they also have high school leaving exam. They also give homeworks, but the homeworks are not too much. They can finish even within like, the school break before going home. So the difference is on the amount, and the difference is on understanding what are tests for. So what is assessment for? And I'm not going to reply to that, because this is one of the questions I asked you on the Menteecom that I think we should discuss. And then I'm actually going to continue with just defining what type of assessments there are. So there is this kind of formative assessment. You may be familiar with these terms, but I thought I revise it, because I'm going to go into more depth with the formative assessment, which is about the assessment or evaluation during the learning process, and this is a continuous form of feedback. It could be done through surveys, self-assessment, dialogue, etc. Let's go into that a bit later. And there's, this summative assessment, which is like a different type because it is a checkpoint sort of testing, which measures learning outcome after a certain period of time. These can be final exams, end of year assessments. I think this is clear, but let me know if anything is not. And so about formative assessment in Finland, this is actually a question that a friend of mine asked me, because there was this famous article on Quibbit about Finnish schools not too long ago. I can even send you the link if you want, because there was this Erasmus project done in collaboration with some Hungarian partners and Jyväskylä University, and somehow one of the question landed on my messenger, and I replied like, how is formative assessment done in Finland? And then I realized, yes, this is actually a very good question, because in Finland, I think formative assessment is very, very interesting and very well done, because it is definitely not one-sided and not one way. So what I mean under not one-sided is that the aim of formative assessment is not to create a stressful environment, to assess how much and how well the learner has prepared for that particular day or particular class, so there's no such thing as like oral examination, which everyone has PTSD from, I think, but rather to provide feedback on learning outcomes, where they are at, what their strengths are, what they need to focus on, what they need to do, and sort of maybe find out if they have any sort of difficulties with the learning. So I think this is already something about what I also think about formative assessment should be about, and in Finland, this is why I had really good experiences going into like university lectures as well. I don't have any experience with the primary, secondary education, but I have been participating in classes, which of like visiting schools and such. And they don't really have these kind of oral exams. They rather just, like use it as a checkpoint to see how the students are doing, and they don't really need to give grades based on any kind of assessment like that. They can give grades for like, how to say that, how they work on the class, so how active they are, how prepared they come, so something like this. And then when I said it's not one way, what I mean under that is that learners regularly assess themselves, each other, and the teacher, and thus practicing a culture of feedback and constructive criticism. So what this means is that not only the teacher gives the feedback to the students, but the students give to each other, especially when they work in teams on projects, and they also give feedback to the teacher, because that's how it goes, in the triangle, in both ways, and that definitely they are using the positive psychology approach, because when they talk about feedback, they're not talking about what they did wrong, they're talking about what they did better than the previous time. And there are a lot of like times when teachers are able to use or willing to use like gamification sort of elements, which provides an extra motivation to the students, or different platforms, and I think that there's a little bit of less competition here between students, and they really pay attention to the no discrimination policies and values. And I mentioned gamification, and I thought, like, why not actually bring it up? Because it should be maybe part of evaluations sometimes, because it is a really fun way to practice, or to give feedback to learners, especially younger ones, or even like anyone at all age, because we all love games and we all enjoy being part of a game. So like Huotari and Hamari defines gamification as a process when we provide game-like experiences to facilitate the learner's value creation process. And so I mentioned that it enhances motivation for learning, and there is a sort of an opportunity to use it for developing your own evaluation design. You can use it for, like, for example, you can just like do that. They can collect stickers when they're very active on classes that, you know, like, and then they collect stickers on the wall. You can create a poster. You can sort of use any kind of different tools. I actually brought you a set of like practical digital tools that you can use for this or for assessment as well. So I'm going to continue, and then we can come back to this then as well. So I mentioned already in this, like, you know, assessment types in Finland that there's a lot of like not one way type of assessment. So it all starts with self-assessment, which Finnish teachers are very much, and sort of Finnish education itself emphasizes self-assessment, because it is really an excellent way of developing learners' critical thinking, discovering strengths, weaknesses. It's a tool for guidance and counseling, for personality development, and it's sort of like really is the first step to take responsibility for your own learning. And how can one like start assessing, or, you know, ask their students to do self-assessment? One of the best tools and most popular ones used in Finland is this learning diary. You probably or may have used it in your own class before, but I have done so many learning diaries already at university, but I noticed that they do it also in primary and secondary school levels. Maybe, you know, the outcome is a bit different, but the point is the same, that you need to reflect on what you learned today, and you need to reflect on what was difficult, what was easy, and sort of make these kind of notes every time you sit down and sort of work on that subject. But you can also like sort of use any kind of other tools, even like questioning techniques during the school or during the class. You can ask them just simply, what did you learn today? And you can do all kinds of interaction. Emojis, using emojis, even through Google Forms or stickers or just, you know, papers. How easy was this class, or how easy was this topic, and really just maybe use different kind of tools so that you get some sort of self-reflection process going on. These are some self-assessment questions I collected. I'm not gonna go through this. I'm happy to send this PPT to everyone, so you can have a look at it. But really, I think these are just some questioning techniques that you can possibly use if you want for the self-assessment of the students. And then there is this, especially if you know, previous time we were learning about project-based learning with Sanna, and I feel like that you and we discussed that you as well have been doing projects with your students, and they have been maybe learning in teams. And the teamwork is a very, very good platform for also practicing peer evaluation when they sort of give feedback to each other. And I think that's something that definitely should be practiced in Hungarian schools, because that's something I started already when I was starting my bachelor's in Finland, and it really gave me an excellent sort of extra skills in communication, how to formulate constructive criticism. It really sort of builds empathy and helpfulness within you, and I think that this is it really comes out that everyone is a teacher and everyone is a learner, because during the peer evaluation process, you just realize that, you know, some people think like, you know, we are so different and everyone thinks differently. And then you can learn from everyone, especially within these sort of teamworks that, you know, you can put together your strength and create something very valuable. And I want to emphasize here that the emphasis of, you know, all kinds of evaluation, in my opinion, should be on the process itself and not just the product. So not just about what we produced with this teamwork, or what's the, you know, grade of the final exam, but like during the process, like, did I do my best during these classes? Did I do my best to you know, to learn what I have to learn, or what I was supposed to learn? And these are some tasks as well. So yes, again, like questions, I think it's very important to allow time and allocate time for discussing within the group as well. So like, you know, how involved were you in? Did you do the best of everything from your abilities, and what could have been done better? So these kind of questions. And then, yes, because last time we talked a lot about project-based learning and problem-based learning, I wanted to comment on that is definitely one of the best and most flexible times when the teachers can use their own evaluation system, and they can really sort of use, as I mentioned, like evaluate not the product, but the performance and sort of the participation, the application of skills, and the process itself. So reflect on that and how they could cooperate and become part of the group, or how their independent skills contributed to that. Yes. And then the teacher assessment. I think that's one of the best things in the Finnish education, that the students get to be heard through multiple channels. So just to give you an example from the university perspective, after every course, we get a feedback form about, you know, how was this course, how was the, you know, the learning objectives reached, and it's really a good sort of platform for students to share their views, like what could have been done better, and also give feedback on the teacher. And I know this from my lecturers, that they are basically getting their evaluation, getting maybe extension in their contracts in the university based on the feedback they get from the students. So it's very much, you know, feedback driven in the teacher evaluation as well. And also in, like, you know, primary and secondary levels, it is really important, and it comes also from the parents, how they see you know, the teacher, how they could have been done better. But certainly I think for teachers, we also want to know when we are teaching someone if they got it or not, you know, if we did well or not. So it is just as simple as that. And also you can still, like, when there's this sort of evaluation round, you don't need to, of course, like do like 3 parts that now evaluate yourself, your peers, and the teacher, but, you know, involving different kinds of questions, and then the teacher can reflect on her or his teaching, you know, that if they got what the class was about, and was it helpful, or was something else that they wanted to learn. So it really is about communication. And then I jump to the digital tools, because these are excellent for using for like collecting feedback and just, you know, anonymous thoughts sharing. So one of them is Google Forms. I already mentioned this, but I think this is more visual. So for example, like these very quick Google Forms, you know, you don't need to put any extra text, but this just maybe even using emojis, like how they like the class, or how they sort of understood it, and it's a really good, like, general opinion, because then it's really good for the students as well, because then you can share the results, like everyone got it, there was someone who couldn't got it, but it's essentially for the teacher. And then this is what we are using today, Menteecom, and this is also an excellent tool for yeah, even assessment, evaluation, but also for just, you know, project works or classroom teaching, like starting a good topic. I really like this, you know, this Wordcloud, when you just type in a word, and if someone typed in more, then it's just bigger than the others. This one, yes, okay. And yeah, so this one is really great. Like last time I was teaching teachers about sustainability education, and then and students as well, and then we had this discussion, like what is sustainability, and then, you know, I asked this, and then they put all different kinds of words. This is not from there, it's another example, but for example, that it could be used. Sorry, someone is not muted, and maybe there is a dog. Sorry, I'm just paying attention because there will be a recording. Yeah. Yes, and then this is something I really love as a student and as a teacher as well, these quizzes, when you can create different types of quiz, for the students, and I especially love to use memes because those are really cool, and sort of it is also a great tool for students when you ask them like, how do you feel about this topic, and then they can say like, I don't know what I'm writing about, like that meme, or they can just really honestly share like their views, and with the humor maybe bring out something honest and something extra. Yes. And then actually that was all today. And from now I would like to, open, I'll probably gonna stop the recording, and then we can just start discussing.